We think of World War I as a war of trenches and artillery, bayonets and barbed wire. But beneath the mud and the blood was also the first modern financial war, a conflict fought in gold vaults, bond markets, and the silent offices of central bankers. Soldiers paid the price in blood. But governments and financiers were calculating a different cost in ledgers, debts, and promises that would rewire the global economy forever. In 1914, Europe was a powder keg of pride and paranoia. But behind the grand speeches about honor and empire lay a brutal financial reality. A war of this scale was impossible without unimaginable sums of money. When leaders chose war, they were also choosing debt mortgaging their nations. Futures before the first shot was fired. They thought it would be over by Christmas, paid for with gold reserves and patriotic fervor. That illusion died within weeks. The war consumed money faster than men. The math was merciless. The foundation cracks. The end of gold Europe ran on the gold standard. Its promise that paper money could be exchanged for real gold. It was the bedrock of trust, but it was also a cage. Gold reserves were finite, faced with costs that soared to millions per day. Every major power did the unthinkable. They abandoned the gold standard. Money was suddenly just a promise, backed by nothing but faith in a state fighting for its life. This was one of the most pivotal moments in financial history. Money was unshackled from metal, set free to be created by printing presses and political will. Once governments tasted that power, they never gave it back. The financial front lines, how each nation funded the slaughter Germany. Blockaded and isolated, turned inward. It launched massive war loan drives, using relentless propaganda to convince its citizens to pour their savings into bonds for the fatherland. It raised over 100 billion marks of financial pyramid built on hope. When defeat came, those bonds were worthless, wiping out lifetimes of savings and planting the seeds of bitter, radicalized rage. Britain had a secret weapon, the City of London, the financial hub of the world. It tapped into global credit and, crucially, turned to a neutral United States. American banks like J.P. Morgan became Britain's financial lifeline, arranging vast loans and managing the flow of weapons and food. This wasn't charity. It was a lucrative exercise in power building. Wall Street earned millions in fees, and America began its transformation from a debtor to the global creditor. France, already financially strained, leaned heavily on its citizens' savings and, like Britain, on American capital. This growing dependency on Wall Street would become a source of immense political tension after the war. Russia's financial war was a catastrophe. A fragile banking system and crushing inflation destroyed faith in the ruble. By 1917, the economy was in ruins. The fall of the Tsar wasn't just a political revolution. It was a financial collapse. The state had run out of money and legitimacy simultaneously. The aftermath, a world drowning in debt when the guns fell silent in 1918. The battlefield was the global balance sheet. The United States emerged as the undeniable victor, holder of the world's largest gold reserves and its largest creditor. Wall Street had dethroned London as the capital of capital. Europe was drowning. Britain and France owed America billions debts they could only hope to repay by squeezing reparations from a defeated Germany. The Treaty of Versailles demanded $132 billion. Gold marks from Germany a fantastical, punitive sum. The attempt to pay it triggered the hyperinflation of 1923, where money became litter and a loaf of bread cost a wheelbarrow of cash. This economic hellscape didn't just cause suffering. It manufactured the nihilistic rage that would fuel the rise of Nazism, desperate to restore its prestige. Britain made another catastrophic error. It returned to the gold standard in 1925 at the pre-war rate. This policy of nostalgia overvalued the pound, crushed British industry with deflation, and fueled unemployment. It was a financial miscalculation of historic proportions, paid for by ordinary workers. The entire system became a dizzying, unstable merry-go-round. American banks lent money to Germany, so Germany could pay reparations to France and Britain, so they could repay their war debts to America. This fragile house of cards, formalized by the Dawes and Young plans, came crashing down in 1929, accelerating the Great Depression, the unbroken chain. Why 1914 still traps you? Today's World War I was not just a military turning point. It was the moment modern finance was born and baptized in desperation. Governments learned they could detach money from tangible reality, abandoning gold, finance, the unimaginable through debt, selling bonds to their own citizens, use propaganda to frame this debt as patriotism. This playbook has never been retired. When a central bank today calls inflation transitory, when governments endlessly raise the debt ceiling, when new money is created digitally with a keystroke, these are the direct descendants of the desperate choices made in 1914. The pattern repeats. Crisis hits. Elites protect themselves with assets and information, and the cost is socialized onto the public through inflation, austerity, and devalued savings. The ultimate lesson is not about history. It's about power. Real wealth is not the numbers in your bank account, which can be inflated away. Real wealth is resilience, tangible assets, and the knowledge to see through the illusion of stability. It is understanding that when the next crisis comes, and it will, the authorities will reach for the same century-old playbook: print, borrow, and persuade. They will ask for your faith, just as they did in 1914. Your financial freedom depends on remembering what came after. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And the rhyme is always paid for by those who forget the last verse. Think you know who profits from war? Subscribe. I'll reveal what they don't want you to see.